Hi, I want to take this video and show you the single best investment you can make in the stock market, and it's creating wealth through dividend growth. My name is Jeff Wright. I'm with Fish Creek Capital. I'm the founder and president of Fish Creek Capital, and I also want to quickly tell you how I even came to this strategy and why we focus on it here at Fish Creek. Back in really 1998, with this dot-com bubble. Everybody was a genius back then, and I was also like you could buy any stock and it would go up, and that's really what happened to me. Let's fast forward to 2007, 2008. I would still, buy and sell stocks and try to look at the market and what I thought was working, and I really got into options, got into futures, got into technical analysis. I did it all, and like most people's experience, I started out doing really well, thought I was the next Warren Buffett, thought I was a trading genius, and I was going to conquer the world. And what I quickly found out was that you cannot, in most cases, sustainably trade well. And in my case, that was a death of a thousand cuts. Again, I started out doing great, thought I was a genius, and there's so many factors that go into trading that I just couldn't control. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I couldn't guess the next Nvidia or the next Apple or Amazon. Like most people can't do that. You just don't know. Like Amazon, you would have had to hold that stock for over 10 years with it being underwater before it really took off. And who does that? Nobody does that, right? Because who would have held a stock for 10 years thinking it was going to be what it is today, losing money? And so once I was able to accept the fact that I couldn't time the market, that I couldn't pick tops and bottoms, and that I couldn't trade well at all, and that the statistics show that 95% of people don't trade well at all, I had to stop and step back and look at what I was good at and what actually works and what is dependable over the long term and what works for rich people or poor people or people that need income or people that are accumulating over time. And I landed on dividends and dividend growth, specifically dividend growth. And let me go over this spreadsheet behind me and I'll explain why. So let's just use $10,000 as the example in this video there. I think I've got that fixed now. So year one, you can see up at the top, $10,000. When you focus on dividends, you're looking at the yield. But what I figured out was through a lot of study, through a lot of trial and error. And again, I learned with my own money. I didn't learn with other people's money. I learned with my own money. I lost my own money. And you want to focus just not on the yield, but the growth of the yield. And you can see that in this spreadsheet behind me. So even with $10,000, if you don't have a lot of money to start with, let's look at year one. Take that principal amount, and then we're going to say that there's an annual contribution of $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. If you're able to do that each year, and a portfolio that we use here at Fish Creek, I've got around 30 companies in that portfolio. So these are real numbers. This is not made up. You can actually use data to create these numbers, and that's what makes it predictable. And that's why, again, it works. We've got an average yield on our portfolio of around 3.7%, which is really pretty low. That's conservative. But the important number is this growth of the yield. And on this portfolio that we use, the average growth is 8.1%. That is proven out over a 10-year history as well. A track record of 10 years of data actually is where that 8.1% comes from. Again, we're not making it up. I'm not guessing. I'm not hoping. I'm not, wishing, that that's there. That is a real number that is from our portfolio. So if you focus on 3.7% yield, with a 8.1% growth of the yield, you can see how these numbers grow. And what's really neat too, and it's a mindset shift. This is how you create wealth. This is how you change your family's future. This is how generational wealth is created. Once you get to around year 14, again, with this conservative portfolio, your yield on the cost is 8.93%. So if you take the average return of the stock market, it's around 9% over the last 90 years or so. It could be higher in some cases, it could be lower in some cases, but let's say around 9%. By year 14, in just dividends alone, you're going to be matching and then beating the return that the stock market has provided. And again, this is just in dividends alone, and this is how you beat the market. This is why this is the best investment idea that you can have. And you can see how it just keeps compounding here. So by year 20, you've got $450,000. You've got a yield of 13.8%. Get all the way up to year 27, you're over $1 million with an income of right under $40,000 a year that is generating a 24% yield. That means a 24% return on your money, on your investment. And again, that is in dividend income. And, this portfolio here is under the assumption that you're going to reinvest dividends, which in most cases, that's what you need to do. You need to reinvest the dividends and let the compounding effect take, work. And that's the seventh wonder of the world, right? The compounding interest. And this is a way you can really see it. But if you get to where you need income, let's say after year 25, after year 27, after year 30, you're taking $56,000 a year, and that is just in dividends alone. That's not taken from the principal. That's from dividends. And that's a key, again, another key factor in how you build wealth, because you're not taking from your principal. You can live off the income, much like real estate. It would, and it just keeps growing. At that point too, you're getting 30% a year in return on your dividends. Like, how else are you going to get that return, right? That's why this is the single best investment you can make. I'll stop here. It's getting longer than I wanted to go. Please like and follow our page. Leave comments below if you have any questions on this. But thank you for watching. Remember, the single best investment. Look at how the compounding effects will work and how you can create generational wealth through dividend growth.